Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez fears we are once again on the eve of an authoritarian regime. Apparently, she was asleep over the past 4 years when the federal government was weaponized against Donald Trump and even his lawyers. And the state of New York sought to put the man in prison. The whole thing was disgusting.
In this video, Tim Pool reacts to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez meltdown over Trump's inauguration. Tim Pool laughs at AOC's predictable rhetoric about all of us living in an authoritarian country now. With that, let's watch Tim Pool roast the wokest of the woke idiots, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez fears we are once again on the eve of an authoritarian regime. Apparently, she was asleep over the past 4 years when the federal government was weaponized against Donald Trump and even his lawyers. And the state of New York sought to put the man in prison. The whole thing was disgusting. So call now. Call it whatever you want. I don't care. You want warfare, lawfare, I should say, political warfare, whatever you want to call it. That's what you get. And AOC largely isn't paying attention to what's going on, or she largely does not care. But there is a question I have for all of you. And you can comment this now and begin the discussion. What happens next? AOC says the authoritarian regime, and I see this as, are they going to lose their minds, or is this the popular mandate? I see one of two main branches in our timeline. Again, it could be a mix of the two. There's, who knows what happens, but I see this. Donald Trump won with a popular mandate. The popular vote, Snoop Dogg's performing. I mean, come on. But there's a question about whether or not this means the American people are going to chill out, largely say, we love Trump, and then we get smooth sailing. People stop paying attention to politics because we good, right? It was crazy over the past 10 years. The media wouldn't shut up about Trump. Then with the pandemic and Biden's miserable administration, everybody was just like, when will it stop? So this time they voted for Trump. The problem is Trump's always been a symptom, not the cause. And so here's what I'm thinking. We might get calm. Trump comes in, signs a bunch of executive orders, work starts getting done, and the average person says, Super Bowl time, baby. I'm looking forward to that Super Bowl party with some pretzel sticks and beer cheese. I'm half kidding. I'm not going to eat the pretzel sticks, but get the point. However, with Trump signing 200 executive orders expected in the
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
first day, ending birthright citizenship, launching these raids, going after sanctuary states and cities, there's a possibility we get no calm. The far left loses their minds and they go around smashing things. And I think we're going to go in that direction. Excuse me. I've been coughing all day. Maybe it's because I'm a pessimist. Maybe I'm a cynic. But I don't see how AOC can be fanning the flames of this fear and us not get some kind of deep concern from the left and some kind of direct action. Now, when Donald Trump was inaugurated in 2017, I was down in D.C. and it was violent. Fires, protests, riots, and we're here today in D.C. I'm wondering if we're going to see the same thing. Now, this was a long time ago. Isn't that crazy? 2017, my friends. I can't believe it's been so long. 8 years. That's wild. And here I am now. I could not go outside. I'd get, these people would lose their minds. They'd attack me, right? And so I was down there when Trump was first inaugurated, and it was insane. When we went to the Deplorable, this big party that was set up just for Trump supporters, it was an honor and a privilege to be invited to get in. However, I don't remember. And they were throwing bricks and rocks at us, and the cops couldn't do anything about it. I wonder what will happen today, if anything, as night falls on this cold city. Well, AOC says, according to the Post-Millennial, quote, this is what 21st century fascism is starting to look like. Republicans really model themselves after Viktor Orban's Hungary. So you can really look to see how Orban runs Hungary to get a taste of how they will try to govern and control media companies in the U.S. This is kind of an entree to that. So she then began speaking about social media platforms and where progressives can organize, recommending platforms like X alternate Blue Sky. As far as what we do, this is a time for experimentation. A lot of people will still use platforms.
I've never even seen the homepage of Blue Sky that AOC is recommending here. But I know enough about it to know that it's a social media equivalent of a safe space for fragile liberals. I just want to very respectfully give all the men out there an unsolicited piece of advice. If you're on Blue Sky, don't tell anyone that. Be very, very embarrassed about it. Just keep it to yourself. Maybe even go under a pseudonym or something. Anyway, so the good news is, based on what happened in the election and just based on the overall tone of social media and walking around in the world, I guess, the group of crazies that have full blown TDS has gotten smaller. In my opinion, there's no question about that. However, that group is always the loudest. I think the branches that Tim discussed, possible timeline branches as he described them, he said it could be one or the other, it could be a mix. It'll be a mix. The problem is those folks that were typically disengaged from politics, they kind of just need to go on with their lives and take care of their personal responsibilities, will probably disengage from politics, but that's not a sexy news story. What's a sexy news story is people breaking stuff, rioting, looting. So I think that both of those things are going to happen in the near future. Certain people will be pleased with the job Trump's doing, the direction of the country. But the crazies, like I said, are always the loudest, and they will look for any opportunity to riot, loot, and destroy. That's what the left does. They destroy, they tear things down. That's their image of free speech. So, and the left wing and the media, they know this. So they're going to continue. I mean, this isn't a surprise to anyone, but they're going to continue to manipulate everything that Trump does and show whatever images or narrative that they need to make things look as terrible as possible, even though you can go outside and see, hey, wow, things are improving. Whatever it is, prices are down. There's not as many wackos saying, I hate Trump and knocking people's hats off their heads. But the news will keep people confused about the state of the country. And they'll do that with the intent of, no matter how good things are going, to be able to say, see, we told you things would be bad if Trump was in office. So it doesn't matter how much good stuff he does, which I believe he's done on day one. They're going to make it look like we're living in a dystopian nightmare. And in reality, the group of people that like to riot and loot and tear stuff down physically, that actually have a desire to do that stuff, is a small group. But it's a small group in a country of 330 million people, which makes it, relatively speaking, a large group. And the news and left-wing politicians know that this group of people is already soaked in gas, so they just need a little spark to get them going. So the media's narrative won't just be to paint Trump in a bad light, which that's, of course, what they're going to do. But I do think there will be a deeper, nefarious effort to give people reasons to burn cities down and riot and loot and things like that. So what I say all the time is, as nice as it is to see that, wow, the country made the right choice, we've got the right person in office, he's putting the right people in positions of authority, we like the moves he's making, we can't rest on our laurels. If you're on the right wing and you feel like you're on the side of good and what's right, which I believe that you are, we have to stay vigilant. We can't take our foot off the gas as far as continuing to tell the truth and continuing to stand up for what's right. Because no matter how small the group of true crazy leftists that are willing to destroy out there is, they have an entire mainstream media machine behind them. They'll have liberal politicians enabling them. So they're going to be a very powerful force. And I want to be clear, I'm not predicting doom and gloom for the country. I really believe and pray that Donald Trump's decisions that he makes and policies he puts in place will turn the country in a good direction. I do believe a symptom of that will be that will give the crazies the reasons that they feel they need to riot and break stuff and all the stuff they love to do. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Can still use platforms, but I also look towards places where you have more ownership as well as development as well, and develop your audience there. Blue Sky, you own your audience there. No, you don't. Tons of people have tried going to Blue Sky and they just get banned. So no. There's an interesting conversation. I've been talking to a lot of social media people, and they say the main platforms X, Facebook, and YouTube will be restored. That's right. We've already, for the past several months, seen Timcast IRL appearing on the default front page. That's weird. Now, YouTube's front page is largely algorithmic. If you open up a brand new computer and go to the front page, you're going to see a lot of just, I don't know, Mr. Beast. And so we did some experiments. A few months ago, we noticed that we had a big spike in viewership. And then it was fluctuating rapidly. And I was like, a bunch of people watching the show and then not watching the show, that's indicative of algorithmic promotion. So we took a device that had not ever been used or signed in, private tab, double layer security.
See, I told you I knew nothing about Blue Sky, but doesn't that line up exactly with what I said that he says when people are going over there, they're getting banned? It does not sound like a free speech flat platform to me, because if it was, leftists wouldn't be on it. I've said this before, but isn't it crazy that they hate Twitter now and it provides the best platform for free speech that it ever has? It's hilarious. And then, you know, with Mark Zuckerberg making the announcement that they're getting rid of third-party fact checkers, for whatever his reasons are, that's a good thing. I think YouTube is still the most restrictive of the main platforms, but hopefully they follow suit. You know, I was thinking about AOC saying that we're now living under an authoritarian regime. You know, Tim talked about it. Like, where's she been, you know, with all the weaponization of the DOJ and New York trying to put Trump in prison? Where's she been when all these platforms have been suppressing speech? It's just crazy because it's either blissful ignorance or pure projection, because there is one side of the aisle that's extremely authoritarian and it ain't the right. And adding to that, I saw Joy Reid the other day at some stupid conference. Like, God, who would go to like a talk where she's the speaker? Can you imagine? You should have seen this crowd. It was super old people, ton of ladies, exactly what you'd expect. But she said basically everyone should be really worried because we're becoming a country of nationalists and strong men. And she gave one other third descriptor. But it was essentially like the first two. It's like, oh, okay. So Joy Reid does get what we're going for. She just doesn't like it. But people that have pride in their country and we have a society filled with strong men, if Joy Reid's seeing that, then we're going in the right direction. You know what I mean? Like the things that she criticizes, it blows my mind how anyone could think those are bad things. But of course, this is Joy Reid. But my point is the things that people like AOC or Joy Reid think are authoritarian couldn't be any more opposite. It just makes you wonder how people that think this backwards get into any positions of power or leadership. It's bananas. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Went to YouTube. There it was, Timcast IRL, front page of YouTube, default for a non-signed in user who's never used a computer before. Now, by default, there's nothing there. So you'd click shorts, it would load shorts automatically, and then you just switch right back, and then it would auto-populate, and there we were. And I was like, wow, something is changing. The oligarchs, the big tech, it's changing. So my point here is, and we can talk about that in a little bit, it looks like the left is being beaten down. Blue Sky is a ghetto. If these liberals, these leftists want to go on Blue Sky and organize, they can, but they're outside the mainstream now. We're winning the culture war. In fact, dare I say, with Donald Trump's popular vote victory, we've won. Now, the enemy has been routed. The conflict still exists, but we're largely taking back our institutions, and this is the American resurgence.
It always seems like the audience is pretty split on whether they like Tim Pool or not. Don't come after me, but I don't have a big problem with him. I like his content. I think he's good. I don't agree with everything he says, but overall, I like him. But whether you like him or not, he's absolutely right that it's a great sign that for a new user on YouTube, one of his videos would pop up on the homepage. That's a big deal. So right there, I said, I hope that YouTube follows suit. It's anecdotal, but that's definitely a sign because everyone knows that in the last 4 to 8 years that wouldn't have happened. So it sounds like things on YouTube are going in the right direction. But we want to hear from you. What do you all think about now that Donald Trump's in office? What will the pulse of the country be like? And do you agree with me that the Democrat Party and mainstream media will try to subvert Donald Trump's success in any way that they can? And can you think of other ways that they may try to achieve that? Let us know. Anyway, as always, we really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.